Hello everybody, and a very happy 2025 to you all. I hope you've had a wonderful start to the year so far. As you might have seen on my channel, I've not been feeling very well for the past couple of weeks, and actually I still don't feel up to doing an awful lot apart from going to do the food shop. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to take you with me and give you a rough idea of what the living costs are like in rural Italy in 2025. I'm going to cover everything from eating out to healthcare to household bills. So if you're one of the people that follows me because you're also thinking of moving to rural Italy, then this is the video for you. Let's start with the good stuff, eating out. So as you probably know by now, I go out for my breakfast every single morning, and today was no exception. I had my usual cappuccino and cornetto, which set me back €2.30, which I think is very, very reasonable, especially if you compare it to UK prices, where any of the main coffee chains would charge you around £7.50 for something that's not of the same quality, and I could have bought breakfast for 4 people in Italy for the same price as I would have bought for 1 in the UK. On Tuesday lunchtimes, we always head to a local family-run restaurant for our lunch, and it's very simple and unfussy. We usually just have the menu of the day, which is a pasta course followed by a main course plus something to drink, and we can easily eat there for less than €30 for 2 people, which I think is fantastic and actually probably cheaper than buying all the ingredients and cooking at home sometimes. On Saturday evening, we headed to one of our favourite restaurants for dinner, and I have to say it's slightly more on the upmarket scale of things, but this is everything that we ate, and it came to €90 in total. We started with an appetizer of chickpea and lentil soup, 2 glasses of Montepulciano, homemade olive oil and bread, a selection of focaccia, baked cheese with caramelized pear and walnuts, a fillet rossini and one with a peppercorn sauce, roast potatoes, greens, and some complimentary biscuits for dessert, as I haven't got my appetite back yet. So overall, I can categorically say that it costs a lot less to eat out in my small town in rural Italy than it did when I lived in the UK. So on to household bills. You probably know that I don't have a mortgage here, so that's one big expense I don't have to worry about, thankfully, every month. But I've spoken to a few friends who let out their properties, and in a smaller town or village here, you can definitely find a 2-bedroom place for around €300 to €400 a month, excluding bills. That's definitely a lot less than I was paying when I was renting in Dorset in the south of England. The only downside is that these places tend to be rented via word of mouth, so you won't find them online, which can make things a little bit more complicated. In terms of household bills, I've put together a little spreadsheet to work out what my monthly outgoings are. So it looks as though I'm paying on average €50 a month for gas, 85 for electric and 20 for water. Now the electric and water have gone up slightly since we put the hot tub in, but also you need to remember that I work from home, so I've always got the heating on, lights on, laptop plugged in, music in the background, etc. So that might be something to factor in if you're thinking about your budget. And then there's waste collection, which varies significantly depending on where you live, but mine is €186 for the year. And I also pay a property tax called the IMU, which you will only pay if you have a second residence. So if you're planning to buy a property in Italy but keep a place in your country of origin, then you will need to pay this tax. This is my primary residence, but because I have an annex, that's classed as a second property, so I do have to pay it for that property alone, and that is €260 for the year. Moving on to transport costs, I do have a car here, and I have to say it's more expensive to run it here than it was in the UK. I moved here under the misapprehension that there was no such thing as car tax because we pay motorway tolls, but that's not the case. And for my Fiat 500, I paid €159 for the year, and that's worked out based on horsepower, engine size, and the region that you live in. Petrol here is also quite expensive. It's around €1.80 per litre where I live, which if you're coming from the US probably sounds quite high. The only good thing is that someone will put the petrol in for you, so the lazy side of me absolutely loves that. The main shocker for me was car insurance costs, and in the UK I was paying around £190 a year. I had my no claims bonus and it was very manageable, whereas here I'm effectively starting off from scratch as a new driver, and my insurance is €900 a year, which I think is outrageous. If you're going to be relying on public transport after your move to Italy, then I'm pleased to say that the train service is absolutely excellent. The tickets are a lot cheaper than they are in the UK, and you're always assigned a seat, so no more being left hanging around on foot after paying an extortionate amount for your tickets. The local bus service here is operated by a company called Tua, and for a ticket for a single journey it costs €1.50, which is very reasonable, but I have to say I haven't got much experience of using the buses here, so that's something to look into when you're looking for your dream home. I'll take you shopping with me in a moment so I can show you how much groceries cost, but I would say I spend around €60 a week on food shopping. Now, you don't really get the bargain ranges that you can get in some of the UK supermarkets, so I'd say the costs are maybe slightly higher, but the quality is also much better here. This is Tigre, which I would say is comparable to Sainsbury's in the UK in terms of price point. I've definitely noticed that Italian consumers tend to show much stronger brand loyalty, whereas in the UK I feel like people go more for the offers. Over here it's quite common to have to weigh your own fresh produce and print out a little label which you stick to the bag and is scanned at the till. The only other noticeable difference about supermarkets here is that the produce tends to be more seasonal, so you can't just find anything you want at any time of year. Recently, I've noticed that there are more and more vegan options available in the supermarkets. On 2 occasions in the past, I've had friends come to stay that were vegan, and it was quite hard to cater for them in terms of going out to restaurants, so it's good to know that there are more options in the shops these days. After the food shop, I always head to Acqua Sapone, which is a bit of a national institution over here and sells reasonably priced household goods. I would say it's still more common here to go to quite a few shops to get everything you need, rather than heading for one big superstore where you can find everything. So if we're looking just at the cost of living without any entertainment or eating out or extras, it looks like I'm spending around €450 a month, which I think is absolutely fantastic, and I am definitely a lot better off here than I was in the UK. Now, I know that lots of people that follow this channel are looking to retire in Italy, so healthcare is probably something at the forefront of your mind when you're thinking about your budget. Now, I'm a repat, which means I was born in Italy and therefore I qualify for the tessera sanitaria, the health card. But you can actually buy this for around €2,000 a year, and that gives you access to obviously state doctors. Most people I've spoken to do take out private health insurance as well, but that's something you would need to look into to find out the cost for, because obviously it's very dependent on your specific circumstances. I will say pharmaceuticals tend to cost a lot more here than they did in the UK, so every time I'm back there I'll pick up some paracetamol for 20p instead of paying the €6 or €7 I would pay here. One really great aspect of healthcare here is dentistry. It costs so much less than it does in the UK. For example, recently I paid €70 to have a filling done here, and in the UK I paid £350 to £400 every time I needed one. So even if you're not thinking of moving to Italy, I would say it's probably worth buying a plane ticket and coming here for your dental treatment, because it's just so much better. So there you have it. That's my rundown of the cost of living in a small town in rural Italy in 2025. Now, I know I am biased, but I think Abruzzo offers the perfect balance between beauty and affordability, so it's definitely somewhere to consider making your home this year. If you have any questions about the cost of life here, do let me know in the comments, and I hope to be fighting fit and back showing you what I love about this region in my next video. So see you again soon, and thank you for watching.